Most people think that mental toughness is about grinding harder, waking up at 4 a.m., cold plunges, pushing through pain until you break. That's not mental toughness. That's just suffering with a marketing budget. I spent years in Israeli Special Forces. I've been an undercover agent in hostile territory, and I've competed at the highest levels of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And also, I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs all the way from 6 to 9 figures. And what I can tell you is that real mental toughness has almost nothing to do with what the internet is selling you. Here's what happens with most driven people. They read a book about mental toughness, they get really fired up, and then they start doing hard things just for the sake of doing hard things. And then 2 weeks later, they're right back to where they started. Why? Because they were never solving the right problem. The issue was rarely that they weren't tough enough. The issue is that something inside them is creating mental interference at the exact moment when performance matters most. I had a client, a poker player named Fareed. This guy was technically world class. In practice, he was untouchable. But every time he got to a final table with the cameras rolling and the big lights and hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, he'd fall apart a little bit. He'd start playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And he'd get rattled by one bad hand, and suddenly he's not thinking about strategy anymore. He's thinking about revenge. Now, Fareed was a very mentally tough individual, but toughness wasn't the problem. It was an interference issue. So let me give you the actual framework that helped him overcome that and win. At all times, there are two versions of you operating. There's higher level you, which is strategic. It's mission focused and it sees the long game. So it weighs risks and rewards and pushes you towards your biggest goals. This is the version of you that wants to take the meeting, launch the product, and have that tough conversation. Then there's lower level you. This version is reactive, emotional. It's wired for survival, not success. It craves safety, it avoids discomfort, and it will hijack your decisions with fear and doubt the second the stakes get high enough. Now, this war between these two parts of you is playing out every single day. Higher level you might say, scale the business. Lower level you will whisper, but what if it doesn't work? What will people think? And suddenly, you're not executing anymore. You're managing fear. You're doing busy work that feels productive, or you can justify it, but doesn't actually move the needle, and you stay stuck. This is what I was referring to around mental interference, and it's the reason that talented people who are driven and are tough plateau. Usually, you're not lacking grit. You're not soft. You just have invisible walls along your path that you don't even know are there, and no amount of cold plunges or motivational videos will break them down. So, what actually works? There are 3 things that actually build a real mental toughness in the right moments. Not the Instagram version, but the operational version that works when a lot is on the line. The first one is identify the beliefs that trigger lower level you. Now, again, we're not looking at mental toughness as a general thing, but as a specific thing that helps you achieve your goal. And most people try to power through their mental blocks. And that's like pressing the gas pedal when the handbrake is on. Like, yeah, you'll move, but you'll burn out fast and never hit top speed. Practical mental toughness that gets results starts with getting specific. Where exactly do you freeze up or hesitate? What situations make you play small, make you play to not lose instead of to win? With Fareed, we trace it back to his childhood in Colombia, and he grew up having to meet aggression with aggression just to survive. That wiring served him as a kid. But at a poker table, at the final table with the big lights, it was costing him millions. One bad hand and his brain would flip into that fight mode instead of staying strategic. Now, once he could see that pattern, he was able to control it. Same skills, same knowledge, but now he had awareness of what was pulling him off course. The second one, build a protocol, not just a mindset. So in Special Forces, we didn't rely on being mentally tough in the moment. We had protocols to help us ensure we're at our very best. Specific sequences built in advance so that when pressure hit, we didn't have to think. We just executed. Before every major operation, there were detailed steps, adjusting sleep cycles day before so that you're fully on at 2 a.m., planning routes, contingencies, fallback options, and so on. The protocol did the heavy lifting so that the mind could stay clear, even when it was compromised a bit. Now, your business is no different. You need a system for how you handle pressure. What do you do before a big pitch, before a conversation, or before making a decision that could really change your company? And if your answer is, I just swing it and try to stay calm, you're already behind. With Fareed, we built what I call a peak performance protocol, a specific sequence he could run through before and during high-stake moments. The result? In his next tournament, he took second place for over $400,000. A week later, another $220,000. By the end of the summer, he went from 28th to 6th in the world rankings. Same player, same skills, but just a different system. The third one is train under pressure, not just through pain. This is where most mental toughness advice gets it completely wrong, and it's just amateur. They tell you to do hard things, run in the cold, fast for 72 hours, take the ice baths, etc. But doing hard things for the sake of hard doesn't prepare you for the specific pressure you'll face in your career. In the military, we trained under conditions that mimicked real operations, and that's what made us sharp. During Krav Maga training, most people think it's about learning to punch and kick. It wasn't. It was staying at a push-up position on your fist for 50 out of 60 minutes. It was about building the capacity to stay composed when everything in your body is screaming at you to quit. And in the special forces, they had something they literally called the unexpected. That's how we would say it in Hebrew. Basically, you'd finish a full week of navigation drills, walked all your miles, hit all your waypoints, and everyone gets back on the bus. But instead of heading back to base, you can see that the bus is turning in another direction. Because now you're going to be marching up a mountain with an open stretcher loaded with sandbags. The guys who crumbled were the ones who thought the hard part was supposed to be over. The ones who thrived accepted that there's always another challenge coming. They didn't resist it, they expected it. That's mental toughness. Not suffering for the sake of suffering, but building the capacity to perform when things don't go as planned. Oftentimes, resilience is more important than toughness. And the biggest trick to build resilience is just recalibrating your expectations. Because in business and in life, we rarely only get what we signed up for. There's always a bit more hard. So if you take just one thing from all this, let it be this. Mental toughness isn't just about being generally harder. It's about being smarter and specific, like a sniper. It's about removing the specific interference that keeps you operating below your potential, and about finding the invisible walls, making them visible, and then carving over them, where you actually need to. If the skills are already there and you have the drive, you just need a system to make sure that higher level you stays in control when it matters most. Not all the time, but just when it actually matters. And if you're serious about implementing this, I break down exactly how to outwork your competition without burning out or relying on motivation. It's not what most people think, and you can watch that video right here.